So tax season is starting very soon, and so far I've had a couple of clients start sending me through documents and stuff like that, and I had a new client come up and to ask me, what kind of documents do you need to submit a tax return? So I thought I'd make this quick video just so everyone knows what kind of documents you need to submit your tax return. My name is Jacques Taljaard, this is Practitioner Accounting Services, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope you're subscribed and click the notification bell, because I found out recently that YouTube doesn't send you a notification whenever a channel that you have subscribed to releases a new video, unless you have clicked on the notification bell and click the button that says enable to send notifications or allow notifications to be sent. So if you find this kind of content interesting, please click on that bell and please subscribe. Usually on my channel you will find topics in the line of accounting and tax, especially towards businesses and business owners within South Africa, but also to a large extent to the general public. So today's video is just an overrun or a quick summary of the kind of information that you need to prepare, the kind of documents you need to prepare for submitting your 2019 income tax return. Next week I'll be doing a video on the criteria and whether you should submit a tax return or not in the 2019 tax year. So what documents do you need for your income tax return? Well, firstly, assuming you are an employee, your IRP5. That is a document that your employer should have given you by now, usually before around the end of May this happens, but it could be anything between the months of April and May that you might receive this document. It's usually in a PDF format, and it looks very much like the IT12 submitted to SARS, but sometimes it looks like your payslip, right? So the IRP5 is a general summary of all the information relating to your salary that's between you, your employer, and SARS. So that's the first document you need to prepare, get ready, find out exactly where it is, or alternatively save it in a specific 2019 tax file for yourself. Then, assuming that you have a travel claim, the most important aspect of your travel claim, kilometers claim, is your logbook. The very first thing SARS asks for is a detailed logbook. Now, your detailed logbook has to state the date, the odometer reading, otherwise the kilometers on your vehicle. It has to state those vehicles or those kilometers. It has to, absolutely has to state the purpose of the trip, the closing odometer reading after the trip, as well as the total kilometers that you traveled for the trip. This has to be for both business and private trips. However, private trips you do not have to state the purpose of the trip. It can basically just be a private, and it doesn't necessarily have to be every single private trip. For example, if let's say you take your vehicle for 3 days, every trip that you do is private, just do one trip per day as private. That'll be fine. It's not lying, it's a total trip, it's a summary for the private. SARS doesn't really mind what your private trips are. They have a very sincere interest in your business trips, because your business trips is deductible from a travel claim. Okay, so that's a logbook. If you also have a vehicle, obviously you have a travel claim, then you need to have the original offer to purchase, or the purchase agreement that you signed with the dealer where you bought the vehicle from. If the vehicle was bought privately, there has to be some form of a purchase agreement between you and the seller, and this agreement has to be made available to SARS. They want the date, the model, the registration number, all of that, as well as kilometers on the date that you bought, but most importantly, the cost price. Because the cost price affects the amount you can claim back per kilometer. Okay, so if you do have a travel claim and you do want to claim kilometers for business, the most important, the two important documents you need for that is your detailed logbook and your vehicle's offer to purchase, or the vehicle's purchase agreement document. Then, assuming you have a retirement annuity or some form of retirement contribution, such as a pension or a provident fund or a contribution to a retirement annuity, you would have received, quite likely, a document from the financial institution where you have this policy with. If you have numerous policies with different institutions, you would have received one from each institution. And this document is sometimes called a tax certificate, sometimes called an IT3b, or sometimes called an IT3C. Now, these tax certificates, or IT3s, are just a declaration between, like the IRP5, between you, the financial institution, and SARS, where the financial institution tells SARS this is what your earnings were in that regard from that institution. They tell you, and you then have to reconcile that with SARS. The very same thing as with your IRP5. The only difference is it's not a financial institution, it's your employer. So start looking and start preparing these IT3 certificates, for the simple reason that if you have earned anything from those institutions, you will have to be taxed on it, but you can contribute a very large portion of your retirement or from your income to a retirement annuity. Make sure that you have those certificates in place. Okay, so you're looking at, so far we have IRP5, you have your travel claim documents, your logbook and vehicle purchase documents, then also the retirement funding contributions. Right. So those documents so far. Then we're looking at assuming you have medical expenses. If you have a medical aid, the certificate from your medical aid, from which you have, where they would confirm the amount of deductions or the amount of contributions that you and or your employer made on your behalf. So that document is vital, because the first part of the medical aid tax credit is based on your contributions. The second part of the medical aid tax credit is an extension of your contributions over and above a certain amount. So that contribution is important. For the second part of the medical aid tax credit, all your medical expenses should be listed. Now, a simple statement from a pharmacy, for example, or an invoice from a doctor or a hospital or something like that does not cut it. SARS does not allow that. They want proof of payment, right? But a proof of payment will not necessarily mean that much to them, because they could argue then that that this wasn't for medical related purposes, even if you've paid doctors so and so and partners. So the principle here is to have a medical schedule that shows what your total medical expenses were, what your expenses were that the medical aid paid, and then what the expenses were that you didn't even claim through the medical aid. So this medical expenses schedule is usually quite lengthy. It's a relative frustrating document, because not a lot of people keep all of their receipts for medical expenses throughout the year. So make sure you've got this document with you, because usually what happens if you don't have that, or if you haven't kept the receipts, likely you can't claim those medical expenses, and then essentially you're paying too much tax. So we looked at your IRP5, we looked at retirement contributions, we looked at medical aid expenses, motor vehicle and a travel claim. Now if you have any other income, right, let's say you've rented a property, or you purchased a property that you are renting out to someone else on a part or on a full-time basis, there's a list of schedules necessary for that. Now usually just proof that you do own the property, if you want to claim the interest, a bond schedule, or a loan statement from the bank, as well as SARS usually recognize independent tax practitioners assessments and schedules prepared by them for that. Then if you have a list of all the incomes, or your rental incomes, but also a schedule of all the expenses relating to that property. The same for any business you run on the side. If you are a full-time employee, if you are a part-time employee, or you're not an employee and you're just a businessman, you're a total list, like an income statement, of your incomes and expenses for the entire year. Now this is usually a very underrated document. Not a lot of individuals like preparing this document, and not a lot of individuals do, for the simple reason it's time consuming, and very often they don't know how to do it themselves, and they get in touch with an accountant or an accounting officer for CCs and get them to do that, and then it can become a costly experience. So just a detailed list of incomes and expenses will go a long way already. But this will have to be done in such a way that you can separate your business activities. Alright? So for every property that you own, prepare the schedule. If you have Uber vehicles that you're renting out, for example, for every vehicle that you have an Uber driver renting the vehicle from you, for every vehicle, have this schedule of incomes and expenses. For every business, let's say you participate in a multi-level marketing business, in that business, have your incomes and expenses. Have for every business. I'm not sure how more I can define this or clarify it more. Everything where you earn income from should have a list of incomes with correlating expenses. Alright. Then, in general, most small business owners work from home, and quite a lot of employees as well lately. If you have a home office and you have to undergo certain expenses for that in order for you to do your job and get an income from that, have a list of those expenses. You can claim a portion of your building, either rent or accommodational expenses. You can claim that back from sales, or from your tax at least, or you can claim that as a deduction on your tax. I should stop talking about claiming it back. The principle is that whenever you have to undergo an expense, or you have to incur an expense, in order for you to earn an income, that expense can be deducted from your income when calculating your tax. So make sure you start preparing a list of all these expenses. This is the total of your incomes and the documents that you need to start preparing for your tax return for the 2019 tax season. My name is Jacques Taljaard. This is Practitioner Accounting Services, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend.